Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday vlog where we discuss activity that goes on here with the BuzWeaver channel. That includes things like current events, headlines that are in the news, pop culture, social media, technology, and items of interest that come up during the week that allow us to have a little bit of a dialogue. If you're new here to the channel, I'd like to welcome you guys here, or if you are returning visitors, I would encourage you guys to click that subscribe button there to the bottom right of the screen so that you guys will know when there's additional content here on the channel, to include the Friday vlogs. In gaming news this week, on Saturday, I released the 1.13 update notes with the backend fixes along with the community news that were all encompassing throughout the week and towards the end of the week. And on that backend fix on Friday, it did appear to affect our connection to the game. And so I thought it was just PC that was having issues, but apparently it was also Xbox and PS4 players. So if you want to check out the Call of Duty video that I made on Saturday, you guys can check that out right up here in the top right hand corner, as it kind of goes over quite a few things that were addressed, patches, and then the back-end fixes and so forth. So if you guys want to catch up on all that, it's all right there in that video. At 2300 hours this Friday GMT time, that would be 11 o'clock UK time, and or 1800 hours here in the United States if you want to get all fancy, and or 6 p.m. here in the United States, the United Kingdom will be leaving the EU. Now, you would have anticipated, or I would have anticipated, that this would have been rather huge news in retrospect and in reflection of when Brexit took place in 2016, because of course we heard a lot of the complaints throughout the last 3 years or so, up until the seismic victory of Boris Johnson. Then all of the rhetoric and just general noise from the smaller voices seemed to die down. But you would think this would have been a bigger issue to discuss, a world resounding event, because now the UK will return to its own sovereignty. That is, that it will not have to be under the policies and other difficult and challenging demands that were placed on it by the EU. I phrase it in that kind of a way because I just kind of see the EU as this world leader embodiment of a one world order that is trying to control many of its surrounding neighbors. And it is kind of nice to think that the UK will be returning back to its own sovereignty. Now, this does not mean that it will be an easy road, because even though now this opens up a lot of avenues for the United Kingdom when it comes to trade with the United States, Canada, South America, Japan, China, Russia, whomever they want to now deal with, and not have to contend with a one market system that was being utilized by the EU, along with oppressive and ridiculous types of policies and laws that were being enacted by the EU. Incidentally, that will also mean that fellow YouTube creators will no longer have to deal with the Article 13 that was going to be issued in June of 2021. That would then make them have to get permission to use sourced material, because like you see here on my channel, I use video, I use images, I use links to produce these videos and then give you the context and information relating to that information. So people in the UK would have had to get actual releases from all the different news agencies and YouTube creators or whomever they were sourcing to be able to use that content. So now that is a luxury that YouTube creators will get to enjoy, among many of the liberties that the United Kingdom will get to experience. Now, this will make changes. I'm kind of curious how this is going to affect Scotland and Ireland as it relates to their interaction in trade and business. And of course, the EU, I would anticipate, is probably going to make this rather difficult, if for no other reason out of spite. But at least now, with this overwhelming victory that Boris Johnson received, we can clearly see that the people were for Brexit. To see even some of these areas that had never voted Tory ever had voted for it because of Brexit being one of those particular stipulations. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how this really unfolds. Will Europe make it difficult on the United Kingdom? And will the Remainers or Ramoners continue to be very vocal? Because as you can see, it's not as prevalent now I don't see as much activity on Twitter. I don't see as much activity on social media. I really don't see a lot of these kind of dissenting voices of Brexit really in the forefront anymore. It's very quiet on their end. As a matter of fact, we're hearing still, from the smaller voices here in the United States. But of course, what is dominating television here in the United States right now is the impeachment hearings. And of course, regardless of how this begins to unfold, what you see and what you hear, as we have discussed here many times, it will end in an acquittal. So, United Kingdom will have its sovereignty back Friday at 2300 hours, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I could not be more excited because I love to see countries get their independence. I like to see independence. I'm an American, so I believe in independence and liberty. Of course, the UK is still dealing with its challenges even within its own laws and so forth, as we have talked about before here too. But nonetheless, this should be a very big day, and we should hear more about it. And I'm hoping that we'll get some decent coverage here in the United States as this unfolds. All right, guys, so the most significant thing this week, in my opinion, is that of the UK returning to its own sovereignty. And of course, unfortunately, we had the tragic death of Kobe Bryant, and then the continuing impeachment hearing, which we know will end in an acquittal, despite the fact that new information and or votes on who can appear or who will have to come forward as witnesses and so forth. But nonetheless, it will end in an acquittal, regardless of what happens. And I kind of think that we're going to experience the same thing that the UK had, a very seismic victory for Donald Trump in 2020. And this whole impeachment was just an attempt is an attempt on the part of the Democrats to just smear President Trump even further. So unfortunately, that's what we're having to contend here with the states. But I think the most significant news this week is going to be the UK leaving the EU. So I wanted to make sure that we had all those details covered. And you guys can see the links will be published down there in the published section below if you guys want to read a little bit more. Some very concise information down there nonetheless. So thanks for watching, guys, and don't forget to click that like button down there in the bottom right hand corner. And of course, you now see appearing there on the screen the obligatory channel icon to subscribe to the channel, as well as notifications. If you are watching this on BitChute and or D2, be sure to give me a follow there as well. And I will see you guys right there behind the camera next week.